Hello, John. Good evening. How are you? Joe Bean, Greg Plowman, Randy. Dean, it's hump day. Mike, Jeremy, Patrick. Good evening, my friends. Welcome to another edition of Wednesday Night Live. South Louisiana. Hello, Chad. How you doing? Where'd you go, Bernie? I saw you in there. There's Bernie right there. Hey, Ruben, haven't heard from you for a while. How are you? Hey, Michelle, nice to have you along with us. Billy? All right, my friends, Trevor, Johnny Bowler. How are you, Johnny? Welcome to another edition of a Wednesday Night Live, my friend. Lost Glove checking in from Newaygo. Dave, good evening. How are you? Anyway, my name is Mike Avery, and this is another edition of Wednesday Night Live. How are you, my friends? Appreciate you being along with us on an absolutely beautiful Wednesday evening. Ed, how are you? Don't call me sir. It makes me nervous. Makes me nervous when people call me sir. Lots of snow in Colorado, really? Ruben, how high are you? What's the elevation there? Are you way up? Or are you in the Denver area? Mike, Kevin. Good evening, my friends. My name is Mike Avery, and this is another edition of Wednesday Night Live. Some things we want to talk about tonight. Hello, Lori. How are you? Kevin. Just missed the snow in Colorado. Shot your first bull elk. That's very, very cool. Congrats on that. Let me check a setting here real quick. Settings. Audio. There, I will change it to this right here. Now, that'll help out a little bit. Robert, how are you? Nice to have you along with us. Anyway, Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand Meats will be joining me here in a little bit as we kick off our ham for the holidays. What day is it? It's hump day. Hold on a second. Ron St. Louis. You just got into Bill's place for a week of deer hunting? I didn't know anything about this. Ron St. Louis of Northern Wilderness Bear Outfitters is down in Ohio for a week of deer hunting? I had no idea. I got to send Bill a text here. Oh my gosh. I had no idea. Wait. What? Ron St. Louis is hunting with you? No, you mean Bill Card. I think. I got a Thunder. Okay. I'm going, what? Disregard. I'm thinking, man, that's a long trip down there. Hey, Brian, how are you? Julie, not a word, not one word from Shane. Well, anyway, Ron, have fun hunting with Bill, Thunder Bay. Excellent. Chad says he's on the road seeing dealers, the 2023 Bear Archery products, exciting new lineups. Nice 10-point on your property. Excellent. Mike, what day is it? You're west side of Colorado, Billy's place in Thunder Bay. Now I got you, Ron. Well, have fun. I see Daryl shot a nice bull, huh? Very nice. Very nice. West side of Colorado. No, I didn't hear a thing. In fact, I thought he would reach out to me and say, Avery, you're an idiot, but he never did. Good evening, Tim. How are you? This is another edition of Wednesday Night Live, by the way. My name is Mike Avery, and I'll be here for the next 45 minutes or so talking about a variety of things, including the fact that Rocktober is behind us. The month of Rocktober is now history, which means it is now the month of November, which means there's going to be this giant sucking sound that's going to pull us exponentially faster into the new year. You get Halloween behind you, and then it's Thanksgiving, and Christmas and New Year's, and you don't have time to breathe. And the marketing people are pushing us toward these things. And, well, I appreciate that, Joe. So all I'm going to say is take a breath, head outdoors, do some fishing, do some hunting. I mean, this is a great time to be deer hunting, right? The whitetail rut is on. Now, did you see, by the way, my granddaughter Addison shot a nice buck the other night? Hey, Johnny, Uncle Johnny, how are you? I see you there, Nick. We'll pull you on shortly. Excellent. Nick Grillo is standing by in the wings. Rutvember. I like that. Rocktober and Rutvember. I don't know if you came up with that or not, Tim, but I like it. Makes you eat too much? No, Bernie, the holidays don't make you eat too much. It's an excuse, but it's on your shoulders, buddy. Oh, once the 8th of November is over. Isn't that true? You're getting ahead of yourself, Trevor. Hold off on those comments. It's getting too early. Listen, Nick's standing by. Nick, you ready to go? All right, here he is, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing, Nick? Uh-oh. Can't hear you. Can anybody else hear Nick? I can't hear you. Nick, try again. Nick, can you? I can't hear you. No, I can't hear you. Can anybody else hear Nick? Oh, Nick's going to work on his settings. Edit mic settings. I don't. There we go.
How about now?
Yeah, perfect. Excellent.
Awesome.
There we
Sorry
are.
about
Nick,
that.
not a problem. Nick, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you, Mike?
I am wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, you know Nick at this point, but this is Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand Meats. He's a good friend of mine. He's a hardcore angler. He's a hardcore hunter. And you got a pretty good scene behind you there at the house, Nick.
Yep. Yeah, I love it. My wife's office is actually right there in that door, but I got mine set up out here in the room so I can see all the trophies and everything. And every day I just memorize and remember all these fun hunts.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. And you've had a pretty interesting fall so far, Nick. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's been a fun fall, but obviously it's been a tough one too. But that's hunting. So it started out, long story short, 3 years ago, I was supposed to go on a moose hunt up in Canada, in Ontario. And obviously COVID happened. And then the next year, the border opened about 2 weeks before the season. So I called him, obviously, that day, and he said, I sold all the licenses to Canadians because I was going to lose all the licenses. And then this year I got bumped too, but he called me last minute and said he had a cancellation. So within about a little under 36 hours, I packed the truck and everything, and I ran up there to Ontario, and I had a moose hunt. And unfortunately, didn't get it done. But man, it was a heck of a hunt. We actually took a train in, and then he picked us up by boat right at the train, and then it was a 27-mile long lake. So we fished on that lake, and we take the boat out every day and park right on the shore and jump off in the water and start walking the beach or walking in the bush calling. So it was pretty darn fun, but like I said, unfortunately didn't get it done.
But you did, did you see it? Did you see any moose or hear him or something, Nick?
Yeah. The first morning we had one, probably, 300 to 500 yards, was raking up brush, and we could just hear him thrashing in the woods and getting pretty, rut was still kind of going on. It was towards the tail end. And then about 10 minutes later, we heard him knock a tree with his antler walking through the brush. And we're like, oh, he's coming. And then about 150 to 200 yards, he was still in the bush in the woods. He let out a deep grunt. And that was actually my first encounter with hearing one in the wild like that. I mean, I've seen them just driving or, out on the back roads up in Canada and stuff. But
Sal said sounds like Lake Esnagi. That is where you were at, right?
Yeah, that is. Good call, Sal. That's exactly where I was. And So yeah, that moose let out a deep grunt, and oh man, we looked at each other and we jumped down on our knees and got ready because we could tell he was coming on a string. But then for whatever reason, he didn't stick his head out, so we're not sure if he winded us or what the heck happened. But and then we heard one later that day. We heard actually a cow, and then the next morning we heard another one raking up trees and making a lot of noise like that. But he never did pursue. He never came in any
Ah,
closer to us.
you
So it
see,
was real interesting. It was fun.
you see what Johnny Bowler says you need right there.
Yep. I actually got my grandpa's up on the wall right here behind the computer. I got my little fish wall. I got a couple of walleye and bass and pike, but then I got my grandpa's that he caught up on the fox. I don't even know what year it
Oh,
was. You got it.
the fox just down the road from Johnny's place, right? Really?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
then, all right, so listen, Nick, you're a hunter. You came home without an animal. Frustrating. Okay, how do you look at it?
So obviously, I mean, we like to joke about it. Obviously, there's nothing, funny about, suicide and stuff. But when I come home, my wife says, "Oh, I'm on suicide watch again, watching, watching my husband,"
Oh,
because I
okay.
come home depressed and everything. But like I said, there's nothing funny about that. But it's our little joke. And then, so I obviously I get pretty bummed. I mean, something like this, you're waiting years for this. I'm not gonna, like a turkey hunt, for example. Obviously, turkey is so intense, but when you have a bull moose that you don't, some people never get a chance to hunt for, and this might be my only opportunity. We never know.
No, no, you're going back. You're going back.
Yeah, I'll
And
make
then
it
you
up
went,
there.
and then you went to Maryland. By the way, look what Joe Bean says.
Awesome. Yeah, Joe, we're gonna start that here again, huh, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. In just a few minutes. But Johnny Bowler says, nice. Um, Lori said, hey, it's
Maryland.
hunting. It's hunting, right? Yeah, Maryland. Then, man, you've had a rock and roll season so far. You were home like how long? A day, 2 days, 3 days, and you went to Maryland?
Yep. So that was kind of the tough part about the moose hunt too, was like, I already had a trip for Maryland planned and it was going to be fun and or pleasure and work, but the first half was going to be hunting. So they're not super popular. So I don't know if everybody's heard of them, but they're called Sitka deer.
I thought those
So
were up in Alaska.
that's a different kind. They're kind of like black or white tails. Those are the Sitka deer up in Alaska. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Now these are Sika, but they're spelled Sika, and they're actually
Oh,
from Japan, and they're only in Maryland. So they're not really like a nuisance hunt like snow geese and stuff like that, but they're trying to control them so they don't spread to other states. So it's only in Maryland, and they're in the marsh, and their nicknames are mini elks or even like I forget what the other one is. Something ninja. I don't know if it's ninja elk or something because they're so quiet, but
yeah.
they're so small. They only weigh about 60 pounds, and but they have racks just like elks. But the biggest they'll get is a 3x3. But they look just like an elk. They bugle. Their rut is in early October, so when I was out there, I heard them bugling, and obviously it's not quite as loud as an elk, but they sound just like an elk. It was so cool, and so they're kind of like a rare hunt, being only in Maryland and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, hunting, we heard a bunch every day, saw some big whitetails, but unfortunately didn't get a put a tag on any Sitka either. So
All right, so you had a
that was
cool
kind of tough.
experience in Ontario, a cool experience in Maryland, and hey, listen, I've seen some of your trail camera pictures on Instagram. You got some nice bucks behind the house.
Yep, we do. And actually, my brother's got a lease downstate too in Van Buren, and I actually went down there for the first time yesterday and I had two pretty good bucks. One was for sure like big, I mean mass and dark antlers. He was a really cool buck, and then the other one was kind of a smaller 8 point. But so that's looking like a good property that my brother got this year from a lease. But
Nice.
yeah, most of my hunting is right behind the house. We live on 63 acres, so we're kind of lucky to be able to walk right out the door and go hunting and everything. So that's kind of my little fun time all summer and everything, is getting the property ready for deer season.
You got a hunting hole right behind the house.
Yep, exactly.
Brian says those Maryland deer would be easier to drag out than a moose too.
Oh yeah, you're right. Most of the pictures are people with them over their shoulders, just backpacking them out. Because again, a lot of their habitat is in the marsh, so they live in that where they're in water constantly. So that's
Wow.
what a lot of people do is they just throw them over their shoulder and lug them out like that. But
Hey,
yeah, we thought about that with the moose. It's like, man,
oh
I
man.
can't even imagine the work that would go into it.
No. But you're going to find out. You're going to go back and you're going to find out. Before we get to the ham for the
Hopefully, yep.
holidays, like I said, all of our followers, our friends, our viewers, our listeners, they know who Nick Grillo is. They know Michigan Brand. But give us a quick rundown. I mean, you're a Michigan-based, family-owned company. You're all across the state now, Nick.
Yep, yep, we are. So Michigan Brand started in the early 80s with my grandpa, but it was actually called Bay City Meats. And my dad, was his son-in-law, so his father-in-law had the business. He was working for my grandpa, and my mom and dad bought it from my grandpa, and they turned it into Michigan Brand. And my dad had the vision of jerky, because back then when it was Bay City Meats, we didn't do any jerky. We still do the hams that my grandpa did back then in the 80s and the 90s, but the jerky, my dad just kind of had a feeling that it was going to take off. So he went the jerky route, and that's when Michigan Brand kind of took off. So we've been Michigan Brand since 1994. But like you said, we're a family owned business. Now, family owned, it used to be only about 20, 30 of us that would work in the plant. And we did everything from cutting the jerky to hanging and cooking, and then the next day packing, even delivering. My first job when I was 16 was actually a delivery driver before cell phones and everything. My dad would say, "It's in this town, go find it." And I would run into a town and go to gas stations and say, "Hey, does anybody know what this store is?" So I learned that way how to be a delivery driver. But then, anyway, so then we went from 20 to 30 employees. In about 6 or so years, we jumped up to 160 employees.
Wow.
And the most we ever got was about 230 employees once we opened up our second plant, which is in Frankenmuth. We have one in Bay City, one in Frankenmuth. And then we had 230 employees. This was about 2 years before COVID. So once COVID hit, we were probably about 190 or so. And right now we're anywhere between about 165 and 180 is kind of
Wow.
normal. But we have 2 shifts. Like this week alone, last week I should say, we did about 24,000 pounds of just beef jerky. Turkey jerky, we did anywhere, I think it was like about 5,500 pounds or so.
Wow.
So, and that's just jerky. We do sausage as well. So when we do jerky, sausage, snack sticks, basically everything between our two plants, we run anywhere between about 30 to 45,000 pounds in a week.
Wow.
And it is pretty amazing to think about how much meat comes in and out our door in a given day. And we do everything except for the butchering. So we get the meat in, we trim it, we tenderize it, or we slice it into jerky, we marinate it, smoke it, package it. We all do it under one house, and then we ship it
What
out the door.
I just realized, why are we both not eating Michigan Brand products right now? Couple of
You're right.
questions from listeners. Bernie says, how long do you age the hams?
So the hams we brine, and then we let them sit in the brine for about 2 to 3 days before we net them and smoke them. Now smoking, they take about 18 to 20 hours. So a lot of those are overnight cooks, obviously, because they almost take 24 hours. So that's where we're ramping up right now, especially with Thanksgiving coming. Now Thanksgiving, you obviously think of turkey first, but there is a lot of hams, obviously. But when it comes to Christmas, our that's our real busy season. So
Mhm.
right now it's kind of the mix of deer season and getting ready for the hams. But as soon as Thanksgiving kind of ramps up and deer season winds down as far as rifle season, we just start taking right off with the hams. And that's the thing. Our summer months are real busy now with the in-store or in-state stores we have. We go right from full summer into deer season, and then we go to ham season. So
Wow.
usually once March to April hits, we're kind of super busy, but we wouldn't have it any other way. We love it.
You see what Bonnie says here? She went to Rapid River Knives last week. She saw your display there by the checkout.
Isn't that beautiful up there? I mean, you've been up there, obviously, Mike. We were up there together that one night.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful store, but then I just love that too. You see, he's got it right up there next to his big grizzly mount up on standing up. and it's just a beautiful rack, and that's a beautiful store. So yep, we love it up there.
James said he'd love to see the automation. It's what he does. Do you do any automation, or is it all by hand,
Really?
Nick?
So when it comes to packaging, we do have some automation lines. We have like auto weighers, so we slice the jerky up into kind of nugget sized pieces, and then we send it up a conveyor belt, and then it goes onto a scale with 14 different scales, and it gets the weights and drops it right into the bags, and it seals it automatically for us. And then we have check weighers. So that's where we run a lot of our big runs in Frankenmuth. But in Bay City, we still do everything by hand. And then in Frankenmuth, we still do a couple lines by hand too, where we're putting the jerky right on the scale and we're weighing it. So the sausage line is pretty darn impressive because, like well, for example, your 4-inch peppered elk sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the dried hunters, we call them. We have a machine in Frankenmuth that spits them out. I mean, you can't even, you blink and you miss 100 coming off the line. But when we run that thing like 100%, it's usually between like 80 to 100 sticks a minute it spits out. But normally, just so it's not too much mistakes or casings break or whatever, we run about 45 to 60 a minute. And again, those are 4-inch sticks, so you watch them come off the line, and like I said, you can't even keep up with seeing them spit out. So it is pretty fun.
Yeah, you guys have done so much in growing this Michigan-based family-owned company into something very special. And also, Nick, you do something very special for us. So we're going to talk about how hunters can take advantage of this. But how long have we been doing Ham for the Holidays now? It's second year, third year, what?
This is the fourth, actually.
Are you serious? Yep. The fourth year for Ham for the Holidays.
Yep.
And the way this works is every Wednesday night on Wednesday Night Live, we're going to give away a ham for the holidays. We're going to do it right now through Thanksgiving, through Christmas, and right on through New Year.
Yep. Usually we have, depending when New Year lays, we usually have it that same week of New Year's.
Wow.
And obviously, if the shipping date falls in, sometimes you might not get the ham till after Christmas or after New Year's. But every year is different. But yeah, we're going to do it right up into New Year's. And it's something that my parents, this actually was my dad and Mike's idea. They discussed it, and my dad loves, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging or anything, but they love giving back to the community, because we wouldn't be anything without obviously our customers. Our employees and our customers are obviously our number one and two to make us what we are. I mean, we wouldn't be anything without people like your viewers and everything. So we love, one, to see these awesome comments that we get from people who either tried our hams or who have heard everything about them and want to try them, but also to see how happy it makes people. So we love doing something like this. And every year, Mike, you bring it up and say, hey, it's getting kind of close. Do you think you want to do it again? It's like, heck yeah, let's do it.
We got a lot of people say, man, we're making them hungry. So let's give away our first Michigan brand ham for the holidays. How does this work, Nick?
Awesome. So it's really not that hard. All you have to do is make a comment. Mike's going to say, all right, starting now.
But not yet. We're going to do it in just a minute.
And then when all the comments come up on the screen, I'm going to pick one at random. Now, obviously something nice is going to be a little nicer than saying something mean, but it can be anything. It doesn't even have to be really about Michigan brand. It can be about ham, about what you're doing with the ham for Thanksgiving or Christmas. It can be, I've never tried ham before. What the heck is a ham? It can be anything like that. One thing that we do ask is, obviously it's very nice, but every year, if we have people every single week that are asking for donations, or, hey, I know of a family that would really need this ham, it kind of makes it impossible to pick at random. So and obviously we don't want to exclude those people. So we just ask that you don't really ask for donations or ask.
Yeah. When people say, hey, I'd like to win this ham because I want to give it to a needy family. That's an honorable, wonderful, generous thing, but it makes it impossible for us here to pick a winner. So if you're going to do that, God bless you, but please don't include it in your comments just because it makes it so tough. So here's what we're going to do. It's going to be 2 minutes. It's going to be starting right now. Make a comment on why you want a Michigan brand ham for the holidays. Nick is standing by. He's going to keep an eye on these things. The more clever your comments are, the more better chance you have. And I'll post some of them here. Ed says his wife says he's needy. Yeah, we should do another video of plant processing.
I was gonna.
Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
I was gonna mention that we've talked about it, and one of the things that's coming up is with we're a USDA facility. Obviously, we're inspected, so part of it is coming through with the camera. There's certain rooms that we can't go into sanitary wise. So we've been talking with them about trying to do another one. So that is something we want to do coming up again. That was a real fun time, huh, Mike?
It was a lot of fun. Nick, I'll let you look at some of the comments here. I'll let you scroll through them here.
Okay.
Brandon's got a comment here. Can you see all the comments or just the ones I post?
Actually, I whipped up my phone, so
excellent. Okay, so you can see them all. You can see them all. Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, my friends, this is Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand Meats. He's watching the comments here. You do hear a puppy dog there, Brent. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Johnny, how are you? If you choose, John Crave says, great story. By the way, John's my brother-in-law. He says, if you choose us, I know a needy family he'll be donating it to himself, I think is what he's talking about. All right. Yeah. Timer's ready. About a minute here now. Okay. Mark is there. Yeah. He's got a nice comment. Yeah. We're going to go back to the buzzer. I'd forgotten all about this. Love Michigan brand. Craig Plowman, absolutely. Look, I'll tell you what, friends, the Michigan brand ham, I got started eating these things when I started working with the Grillo family, but they are the best hams I have. Oh, there we go. Trade a brook trout fishing trip for a ham.
That seems fair.
This is something we do at the Avery House. We have a Michigan brand ham at every holiday. You've got 1 minute now. Make your comments. And again, this is something that we will be doing every week here on Wednesday Night Live. Johnny's a good guy. He'll take you anyway. Is it as good as it sounds, Josh? Absolutely. I can tell you for a fact they are as good as they sound. James wants to get in on this. Josh wants to get on this. Lori wants to get on this. Johnny, of course, wants to. Jeff wants to get in on this. Jim wants to get on this. You got 30 seconds. Make your comments on why you want to win a Michigan brand ham for the holidays. And Nick Grillo will be. I don't. Ross is out of the running. By the way, Nick, you can't give a ham to Ross now because he's just being rude.
Yeah,
actually, he's not. But 20 seconds on the Michigan brand ham. And 20 seconds on the Michigan brand ham. Nick is standing by. He's going to pick a winner here in just a second. 15 on the Bruce. 15 on the Michigan brand ham. Keep your comments coming. Nick is watching them on his phone. Johnny, yes, indeed. 10. Get ready, my friends. Get ready because you know what's going on. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up. Now, when Nick isn't with us, because I don't want to be rude to Nick, when Nick's not with us, I'm going to make that buzzer go longer.
Yep. And then, like you kind of mentioned, Mike, when weeks I'm not on here, at least on the face, I'm still sitting on the back end with my phone. And Mike says, all right, Nick, we're ready for the name. And I'll text it in. So it is me actually picking it. And it's not a random where I'm going to put all the names in a generator and it's going to be completely random. But I am scrolling through and I usually look at obviously how nice of comments they are. And then I'll pick one random one that sticks out that night, whether it's something funny or if it is just completely something nice. Or like I mentioned, if somebody says I've never tried one. And tonight I gave you a hard one, Mike. Kevin, I apologize for the last name, but the last name is Niezguski, Niezguski. Kevin.
Try to scroll back down to him. Kevin.
Yep. It was by underneath Jim Hassel and above Bernie.
Right. And there he is. Boom.
Yep, that's the one.
Kevin Nizguski. We'll go with that. Nizguski.
Sounds good right now. Yeah.
All right. So congrats, Kevin. You're the first winner of the Ham for the Holidays on Wednesday Night Live, courtesy of Nick Grillo and the entire Grillo family at Michigan Brand Meats. Kevin, the way this works now is Nick is on here, right? I don't know if you made a comment, Nick, but if Nick makes a comment, you can message him directly, or you can message me, Kevin. I will pass your information along to Nick. Give us your name, remind us of your name, and give a shipping address so Nick can send that ham out. And Nick, how long does it take to get him to him, Nick?
So that's a little bit of the tricky part too. I'm glad you brought that up. A lot of it has to do with the location. So let's say this person lives anywhere really in Michigan except for up by Johnny.
Yeah, by
but
Johnny.
in nowhere. But if a lot of the ships in Michigan are only 1-day ships, there's a couple places in the state that are 2-day ship. But especially once it gets colder, I'll pack it with ice still, but it will be, overnight it's going to be cold, everything. But let's say you live in Tennessee or in another state. I'll wait until the following Monday to ship it out because we don't want it sitting on a UPS truck over the weekend because obviously this is it must be kept refrigerated. It's a ham. So depending where you're at is when you're going to get it. But for the most part, you are going to get it either that Friday or, like I said, depending where you live, you'll get it the following Tuesday or Wednesday.
Excellent. So you get it out right away. All right. So Kevin Nizguski is our first winner of the Ham for the Holidays, courtesy of Nick Grillo and the Grillo family of Michigan Brand Meats. Again, this is something we're going to do every week. Nick, before we let you go, if I get a deer, and who knows if I will or not, but if I shoot a nice doe Friday night when I'm hunting, you can't process that for me, or can you? How does this work?
Yep, correct. So we still process boned out meat. So we will still take your meat, whether it be venison, bear, elk, moose, goose. We do goose every year. We do duck.
Turkeys.
Turkey. Any kind of meat, really. Heck, we've even done African meat. We've done lion before. We've done snake one year. We did snake for somebody. Wild boar. Again, really anything. But you bring us the boned out meat. We cannot take any full carcasses, or we can't take any product that still has the bone in it. Part of our USDA inspection is we can't do that. It's just something that's not in the cards anymore. So as long as it's boned out, you can bring it in and we will turn it into jerky, into sausage, whatever you want. Now we do have a list of them up on our website. So if you go on the website, that'd be the easiest thing to see what we offer. But jerky, one thing to remember is depending, obviously, what kind of cut you bring or how big depends on how big of length or pieces you're going to get back. But jerky shrinks by 50%. So that's something to remember too. You bring us 10 pounds, you're only going to get roughly 5 or maybe a little more back.
Do you see what Brent asked? Can you bring it to Bay City or Frankenmuth or both?
Great question, Brent. So actually only Bay City. I'm very glad you mentioned that. So that's only at the Bay City location. And that address, both of them obviously are on the website as well. But you bring it in, we'll weigh it, and we'll say you have X amount of pounds. Here's our list. And you basically go shopping. You say, I want 2 of this, I want 1 of this, and you can split it up however you want. So sausage, we add 50% of our pork. Being, wild game is pretty dry. Obviously, venison is the most popular one we have. So we add 50% of our pork. So basically, you're going to double your meat back. So if you bring us 10 pounds in, you're going to get 20 pounds back for sausage if you get it all into sausage. So that's a couple ways to kind of to think of when you're sitting at home and you say, yeah, I do want to bring some meat in. Because we do have that sometimes where people bring it in and say, well, I only brought 10 pounds. How did I get this much? Or the opposite. Right. Hey, I brought 10 pounds. You only give me 5 pounds. Well, we just like people to remember that before they come in, and that obviously jerky shrinks and everything like that. So,
well, and I'm sitting here thinking we really screwed up, Nick. You and I, we should both have a bag of Michigan brand products in front of us, but people know what it looks like. We've shown enough of them. Nick, right. I'm gonna let you get on with your night. Listen, I appreciate you so much bringing back the ham for the holidays once again. We'll do this every Wednesday night during Wednesday Night Live, right on through the first of the year. And again, when I shoot my dough, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take it to Stutzman's up in Clare. I'm going to have them bone it out. Then I'll bring the rest of the product to you. That's a good way to do it.
Yeah, he's a great one. We actually have done meat for him before like that, and that's where I've already had quite a lot of people reach out and ask who does deer processing, who do you recommend? And I'm sorry to tell people, but there's just not that many people anymore that are doing it. It's a tough job, I should say, So in Bay City, there still is a couple that are doing it, but Stutzman's, he's up in Clare, so it's a little bit of a haul if you're in the Tri-City area where we're at. But obviously, I'm sure you got a lot of listeners up that way. But yeah, he's one we recommend a lot for deer processing. He's a great guy up there.
Lee says, Nick, you're the man. I agree. Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand, you are the man. I appreciate you. Appreciate you bringing back a ham for the holidays. You give away a lot of hams during this, so it costs you guys some money. And we do appreciate what you're doing, Nick. So we'll check in every once in a while, and I look forward to seeing you again soon, buddy.
Thanks, Mike. And thanks again, everybody, for the nice comments and for trying our product. We do appreciate it.
All right. Again, congrats to Kevin Nizguski. Kevin, send me your info. Nick, have a good night. We'll talk to you later, buddy.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand Meats. Man, Michigan Brand, I love working with those guys. And Nick is a great, great guy. 8.53 seconds tonight. That was a little lame. I admit that. But listen, I didn't want to be rude to Nick. But next week, when Nick's not on live on camera with us, I'm going to see how long I can make that buzzer go. Tim says, do you sell seasoned packets to make your own at home? No, Tim, Michigan Brand is not in that business at all. If you're looking to do your own processing, I suggest you go to Jay's Sporting Goods. They sell all of the seasoning and all of the equipment, in fact, to do your own. John says, yes, we got to try to beat the record. John, who is the president of the CMU Bass Fishing Club, by the way. Nick, I missed this before you go. When will the spiral hams be ready? Nick, you still there? Text that to me, Nick, if you're still there. Yeah, he's nodding here. The spiral hams. Yes. The spiral cut honey glaze used to be my go-to product on Michigan Brand for the hams until I had their other hams. I tell you what, man, I like them both. They're excellent. Nick's texting me right now. I'll get that to you as soon as he does. All right. Okay. I am so glad that we were able to kick off Michigan Brand ham for the holidays once again. My pleasure, Tim, but you can thank Nick for that. Who's on the show this weekend? Okay, a good transition to move on, and I will get that text to you here shortly. On this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, Sergeant Mark Depew, a conservation officer from the Michigan DNR, talks about spiral ones are just like candy. They are darn good, that's for sure. Okay. Sergeant Mark Depew of Michigan DNR is on with me. Then Tom Nelson, who is the host of The American Archer, talks about bow hunting the whitetail rut, because the whitetail rut is on right now. Then Nick Green of MUCC checks in. This week's Ask Avery question, and I'll read it to you right now. This was sent in to me by Don Schlegel of Remus. He says, Mike, I was wondering if you could find out if there are any restrictions on using electronics for deer hunting, such as CCTVs, monitors, and cameras with the ability to pan, tilt, and zoom. He said, I think you could put a solar panel on it to power the unit. A camera looking behind you would be helpful to reduce movement while in the blind. The answer from Lieutenant Jason Wickland of the DNR, no. There are no restrictions. You can't use a drone, however, to locate or find deer. You can't use a motorized, you can't use a camera. They used to have this thing a few years ago where you could pay a service and pick out your deer on a deer farm and then use a computer to guide the camera and shoot. Obviously, that is not legal. The Primal Tree Stands Blind Spot 360 camera that I have used, that is a remote camera that you can use. You can set it on your blind and pan, tilt, zoom to look behind you. That is legal. That is legal. All right. I think I got the text here from, okay. Michelle, Nick says 2 to 3 weeks before Christmas, the spirals will be coming out. 2 to 3 weeks before Christmas. No, Tim, This is interesting. You cannot use a drone to find a downed deer. That is considered illegal. I specifically asked him that question. The answer is no. The answer is no. I'm with you, Dave. Dave says he hasn't had anything from Michigan brand that wasn't excellent, nor have I. And I've had a lot of Michigan brand products. Trust me on that one. So thank you, Don Schlegel. If you have a question for the Ask Avery segment, send me an email to Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and I will get it on the Ask Avery segment. Okay, recapping. It is November. The rut is on. Get out in the woods. Spend as much time in the tree stand or the ground blind as you can right now. My granddaughter Addison shot a beautiful 2.5-year-old 7-point on the property that we lease in mid-Michigan. I've been teasing her. Oh, there's Vance. Vance is in the combine. This is interesting. Vance would know. Vance is in the combine in northern Michigan. He has seen zero rut activity from the cab of the combine tonight. Thank you, Vance. Appreciate that. So you're realizing it's more stressful watching your kid hunt than actually hunting? Yeah, true. So my daughter Addison shot a nice buck. I've been teasing her. I said, Addison, why did you shoot Grandpa's buck? Because, okay, we've had this buck on camera for about 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, she said, Grandpa, I'm going to shoot the 7-point. She did shoot the 7-point. So now being a grandpa, I said, Addison, why did you shoot my buck? She said, what do you mean your buck? I said, Addison, I'm an old man. I don't have that many more years of hunting ahead of me. And Addison, you've got your whole life. You should have let me shoot that buck, knowing I was never going to shoot that buck. Oh, Grandpa. No, kiddo. Congrats on your buck. I was never going to shoot that buck. Congrats on doing it. Okay. Let's see. So true about more stressful watching your kids. Yes. Okay, Bert, when using dogs to track a downed deer, why is it the dog cannot bark? I've heard this a few times, wondering why. That's not true. That's not true, at least as far as I know. John says, I can tell you the rut is getting started based on weekend activity in mid-Michigan. Mike, I missed a deer because my crossbow limb hit my blind. Need a chair with adjustable legs because I'm short. Any recommendations? I'll tell you what I do, Mike, and this is actually a very interesting and very important thing. You got to have a chair that's tall enough where you can shoot out of your blind, but you got to make sure that you put your crossbow back far enough where you don't hit the edge. All you can do is sit in. I don't have a recommendation for a specific chair. Anybody else? Brian says he's starting to get some daytime activity on the scrape line and the bucks are using the scrapes. Patrick has 2 weeks off starting Friday, the first week in UP. I knew what you meant, Brian. Bucks. David said the head guy of the DNR needs to be voted in, not appointed. That would change a lot. Yeah. Alps. Ed says he recommends the Alps chair. The Alps chair. Thank you. I'd appreciate that. Okay. A couple of real quick final thoughts. Baiting. 2 weeks ago on the show, well, it's been longer than that now. Chad Stewart, the head deer biologist for the DNR, a guy I like and a guy I respect, admitted that the DNR overreacted in their concerns for chronic wasting disease, CWD. He's not saying it's not a concern. He admitted the department overreacted. Now, part of that reaction to CWD was the banning of baiting in the Lower Peninsula. So I asked him last week during the Ask Avery segment, with that in mind, Chad, the overreaction, are there any efforts in the DNR to reinstate baiting in the Lower Peninsula? He said no. I find that interesting because depending on who you talk to or what statistics you look at, a significant percentage of Michigan hunters are still using bait illegally, but they're still using bait. 25% to 80% depends on who you talk to, what county, where. So it's obvious that the COs can't control baiting. It's illegal, but they can't stop it because too many hunters are doing it, which raises another question. Okay. If something is illegal but can't be enforced, should it be a law? That's a very, very big question. If the DNR overreacted by banning baiting, should it come back? Another big question. I don't see it happening. Lyle says the Bucks are in a rut in his area. In the rut in his area. Hey, Emil, how are you? Emil uses a chair on a platform, 2x4s, the 3.5-inch lift. Yeah, Pat, everything is good in my world. How about yours? All right. Once again, congrats to Kevin. Congrats, Kevin. Send me a private message here on Facebook with your shipping address or send it directly to Nick Grillo. And again, a big thanks to Nick Grillo, the Grillo family, and everybody at Michigan Brand. They are quality people. The website is michiganbrand.net. I should have mentioned that earlier, michiganbrand.net. If you are looking for a location to buy Michigan Brand products in your neck of the woods, go to the website, michiganbrand.net, michiganbrand.net. There's a store locator button on the website. You can click on that and you can put in your zip code and it'll tell you what stores sell Michigan Brand in your area. And there are maybe 600 of them now across the state. So there is likely a Michigan Brand outlet in your neck of the woods. Mike says, what's the difference between using bait or setting by an apple tree or cornfield? Still the same principle. Yes. Yes. And you can sit by a cornfield and you can sit under an apple tree. But you can't take that corn and move it to your stand, and you can't take those apples and move it to your stand. Does it make sense? I don't know. I'm just telling you the law. Pat's chasing waterfowl around, liking the rain finally this weekend. Bert says bucks are chasing does in his area. Even the smaller bucks are sparring. Whether or not there is, but you can move the tree. Always. Tim, leave it to Tim to come up with a good comment. All right, my friends, it's time to call it a night because right now there's only Crystal Light in here. I'm going to take a jug about twice that size. I'm going to put some Crystal Light and some Maker's Mark in it and call it a night. Again, Kevin, congrats on winning the first Michigan Brand ham for the holidays. It's something we will do every week here on Wednesday Night Live. My name is Mike Avery. The website is MikeAveryOutdoors.com, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Do not hesitate to reach out. Do not hesitate to join me every Wednesday night now through the first of the year as we give away our Michigan Brand ham for the holidays. MichiganBrand.net, MichiganBrand.net. Have a great night, my friends.